This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Friday, the 28th day of June in the year 2024. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here's what we're tracking tonight. The U.S. Ambassador to Guyana, Nicole Theriot, has made clear the unwavering U.S. support of Guyana in the border controversy with Venezuela. At a reception last evening to observe U.S. Independence Day, Ambassador Theriot said in the face of bullies and tyrants, the U.S. will always stand with Guyana, and the relationship between the two countries will continue to grow.
Our military partnership is the strongest it's ever been. Guyana has hosted trade winds, bringing over 1,000 partner nations personnel for exercises promoting regional stability. We've had countless military-to-military engagements. We've allocated significant foreign military financing to support the Guyana Coast Guard under the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative. And we have worked with the GDF on institutional strengthening, air domain awareness, cyber defense, and in many, many other areas.
Noting the development of the U.S.-Guyana relations over the years, the U.S. envoy said the U.S. government will continue its support of Guyana and the Caribbean, especially in the area of security. Ambassador Theriot noted the strong trade ties between Guyana and the U.S., explaining that the commercial ties between the two countries are deeper than ever.
Just a few years ago, we traded a few $100 million U.S. worth of goods, but last year, we surpassed 4.6 billion U.S. It's amazing. We now have over 100 U.S. companies in Guyana, and that number is growing every single day. Through our trade missions, conferences, and exchanges between our private sectors, our companies are unleashing economic growth that supports the employment of thousands, providing a better future for Guyana. And it is occurring in many sectors. Energy, of course, is a key economic driver, but we see activity in the areas of healthcare and education, agriculture, and new U.S. technology is being adopted by Guyanese firms and the government to make them more efficient and competitive.
And President Irfan Ali, in his address last night, highlighted the deep relations between Guyana and the U.S. He also praised cooperation between the two countries in a number of areas, especially security.
This has brought tangible results in every aspect of our security architecture, whether it's our fight against illicit drugs, whether it's our fight against money laundering, whether it's the fight against criminal activities, movement of arms. We are seeing tangible results as a result of the work we are doing together.
The president said the U.S. and Guyana's relationship is about building and supporting peace in Guyana and the region, while noting that both countries will continue to strengthen their relations.
We have no apologies for the strong bond and relationship that we have with Southcom, because we believe that we share the common values and we share the same interests in ensuring that this zone remains a zone of peace, and this zone and our sovereign right is protected. And I want to make it very clear, because the propaganda can be different. There is no conversation between the US and Guyana in our security architecture that seek to fuel any act of aggression or anything in this region. Every single conversation in this relationship is about keeping this region safe and peaceful, and keeping the people of this region in an environment in which they enjoy the rule of law.
Both the U.S. ambassador and the president also noted the growth of trade relations between the two countries. The U.S. will be celebrating its 248th independence anniversary on the 4th of July. More news coming up in just a moment.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, But we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. Or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Debbie, what are yard man doing in the house?
When we touch down, the whole place shell out.
Why you ain't get your ticket as yet? You ain't know the show is Saturday and Sunday? Watch. Pass and get your ticket.
I want to clip them thick yellow toenails there. And when you done, rub some cream on them. Right? Because it look a little ashy. It's KFC not in the last about 15!
Madness in the capital, so I feel like I'm running tongue again. Jump and shake the ground again.
Just hours after Amanda Walton this year announced her withdrawal from the race for the leadership of the People's National Congress Reform, Attorney-at-Law Senior Counsel Royce Dilford also announced his withdrawal from the race for all of the positions that he has been nominated. He said despite several written communications addressed to the Central Executive Committee of the party and the General Secretary regarding concerns about the integrity of the electoral process for the party's elections, which takes place this weekend, he has not received any response. Mr. Ford said there have been noticeable irregularities concerning the list of delegates, which raised serious concerns about the transparency of the election process. He said unreasonable time frames have been imposed to meet certain requirements for holding the Congress, which have plagued undue pressure and constraints on the democratic process. He also said members from various regions across the country have expressed dissatisfaction with the extremely limited time provided to organize logistics to attend and effectively participate in the Congress, which opened this afternoon. Mr. Ford said his decision is rooted in the fundamental principles of accountability, transparency, and democratic governance, which he said he believes are essential for the integrity of the party's electoral process. Earlier this week, Dawn Hastings Williams resigned from the position of General Secretary of the People's National Congress. She said her resignation was influenced by the lack of accountability in some aspects of the party. She also said she was locked out of some information and processes regarding the Congress and elections, although she was the General Secretary. Leader of the People's National Congress Reform, Aubrey Norton, appears to have backtracked on a previous held position with regards to having a consensus presidential candidate for the parties should they decide to go into next year's general and regional elections as a coalition. Mr. Norton now says that the People's National Congress Reform, his party, will decide on the matter and not him. This weekend, the party will examine a motion that its leader should be the presidential candidate for the 2025 elections. Speaking during a Politics 101 program last night, Mr. Norton was again asked about his view of a consensus presidential candidate for next year's elections.
But to say I am prepared to concede it, no, I'm a reflection of my party. My party does its work, it is strong, and I don't believe that we should just take the hard work we do and give it to anybody who just fly off of a treetop, land on the ground, and say, you must be the presidential candidate.
Norton also brushed aside questions about whether he is prepared to cede the presidential candidacy to one of his comrades in the PNC reform.
In this present situation, I am going to the mandate to the Congress for the mandate of the PNC. And once the PNC mandates me, then I'm expected to operate based on the mandate of the PNC.
And speaking on the apparent divisions within his party, Norton said he regretted not taking action earlier against persons who he described as runaway MPs. He promised that after Sunday's Congress, people will be made to toe the party line.
Very regular throughout this term, I have been calling some MPs to say, we have no problem you having a view and a statement, but you should pass it through the leadership of the party so that it is consistent with party policies. And a lot of the new, who I call social media politicians, don't believe in that. They believe in getting it out first, regardless of what damage will be done. I would say in some regard, very early I should have put my foot down on what was happening.
The People's National Congress Reform is hosting its Biennial Delegates Congress and elections this weekend.
All my documents up on my phone because everything is digital now these days, and I have it on my phone. But the thing is that before battery dead.
KFC's Nothing to Laugh About 15 hits the National Cultural Center on the 29th and 30th of June at 8 p.m.
Tickets $2,000, $3,000, and $4,000.
It's KFC's Nothing to Laugh About 15.
Madness in the capital, so I feel like I'm running tongue again. Jump and shake the ground again.
NYC, New York City. Get ready as the original Big People Party with the same vibes you've seen and loved comes to you this Labor Day weekend on Saturday, August 31st with some of the biggest one-man bands out of Guyana and New York. Look out for Super A, Murphy, Busta, and Super Terry.
Big People Party.
Along with the legendary Glenn Washington.
Baby, don't take my kindness for weakness. If loving you is wrong, I don't wanna be right.
Glenn Washington and his band at Industry City, New York City. Get your super early bird general tickets at $40 and VIP access $150 all inclusive. And all are available at hjexperience.com. This event is brought to you by Hits and Jams Entertainment, Marvelous Entertainment, and GD Events. It's the original Big People Party at Industry City, New York City on Saturday, August 31st. The big and proper edition.
Mobil 1 is more than oil. It's many oils. It transforms at the molecular level. When cold, it's thicker than honey. When hot, it's thinner than water. Mobil 1 adapts and readapts to last longer. 16,000 kilometers between oil changes. That's your engine evolved.
US-Guyana is the authorized distributor of Mobil lubricants.
Let's tell you now that Canadian-based oil and gas exploration company CGX has informed the government of Guyana of a potential commercial interest for the Way-1 well in the Quarantine block. But Vice President Bharat Jagdu has made it clear that the government will not be played by CGX. In what could be described as a last-ditch effort, CGX and its joint venture partner Frontier Energy on Wednesday submitted a notice of potential commercial interest for the Way-1 discovery to the government, a move that would preserve the joint venture's interest in the petroleum prospecting license for the Quarantine block offshore Guyana. But at a press conference on Thursday, Vice President Jagdu said Cabinet will discuss the notice next week. However, he said for any extension to be granted, CGX will have to provide the government with the particulars of the project it intends to develop.
But let me make it clear. CGX will not play the government of Guyana. For a very long time, they've been jerking people's string. Maybe they're investors, but no longer are we going to be tolerant of any ambiguity. If they are declaring commerciality now, they have to show in specific terms how they intend to develop a project and where the finances are.
Mr. Jagdeo says CGX was given sufficient time to develop a project, and at the 11th hour it must do more than provide the government with a notice of potential interest.
We have given them time to, as per the law, to do all they had to do. But this is the crunch time now. If they now are saying they're moving to a project, they have to show us what this project is and show us how they're going to finance the project.
Last year, the joint venture successfully drilled the Way 1 well, its second well on the Quarantine block. And according to CGX, the well fulfilled the obligation under Phase 2 of the second renewable period of the original 10-year license and served as an appraisal well for the Kawa 1 appraisal program with the government of Guyana. CGX said it has engaged in regular constructive and collaborative conversations with the government throughout the joint venture's tenure on the Quarantine block. The Canadian company has said it looks forward to completing the discussions in an expeditious manner. Turning our attention now to the oil and gas sector, the local content secretariat has written to a number of companies involved in the oil and gas sector and related industries, reminding them of their obligation to prioritize the hiring of Guyanese nationals in keeping with the Local Content Act. In a statement today, the Ministry of Natural Resources explained that in the letter, the companies were reminded that in cases where Guyanese national has a relevant qualification for a job but lacks the requisite experience, that Guyanese national shall benefit from necessary training for the position. The ministry said contractors, subcontractors, and licensees are required under the Act to ensure that Guyanese nationals employed to support their operations continuously benefit from training and capacity development. The Local Content Secretariat has indicated to the companies that it will soon be conducting audits to ensure compliance with the Local Content Act. As part of those audits, contractors, subcontractors, and licensees will be required to submit evidence to prove that Guyanese nationals are being given the opportunity to apply for new and vacant positions, ensuring a level playing field with benefits between Guyanese nationals and non-Guyanese applicants, and consideration for overcoming experience gaps for Guyanese nationals and their applications through training and mentorship. The Secretariat said failure to comply with the requirements of the Act would render the contractor, the subcontractor, or the licensee non-compliant and therefore hinder the receipt of the Local Content Certificate of Compliance and other related approvals to continue with their operations. There have been some concerns expressed that many of the companies involved in contract work for the petroleum sector here have been bringing in workers, while the same skill set may be available here in Guyana. An electrical panel caught fire at the Starters Nursery School this morning, prompting emergency services and the Guyana Fire Service to rush to the scene. According to the Fire Service's Divisional Officer for Operations Otis Charles, the Fire Service received a report of the fire at around 10:33 this morning and rushed to the nursery school, which is located along Camp Street just behind the St. Margaret's Primary School. He said upon assessing the scene, the firefighters discovered that it was an electrical fuse panel that triggered the blaze.
On arrival, the guy noticed some smoke coming from one of the rooms on the upper flat. So right away we get into firefighting mode. We responded with 4 vehicles to ensure our hoses were rolled out, charged, but then it was discovered that it was a fuse panel that was on fire.
The fire officials said firefighters were able to contain the blaze within minutes.
It's a major disaster that was averted. Alright, we responded promptly. I think we took just about 8 minutes to for the forest arriving vehicle to reach here. So we managed to cordon off the entire area, and there was no other damages done other than the fuse panel and around that area.
He said based on an early assessment, the cause of the fire appears to be the overloading of circuits, but a full investigation is to be conducted. There were no injuries reported.
Look at the breathtaking beauty of the Essequibo. From its pristine rivers to its abundant resources, it's a treasure that belongs to Guyana, and we ask Venezuela to respect the rule of international law.
Our commitment to this land is not just about ownership. It's about preserving its beauty and resources for our people and future generations.
The controversy between Guyana and Venezuela was settled internationally as full, perfect, and final in 1899. Essequibo belongs to Guyana.
Guyana's economy is rapidly transforming, and we're all part of it. Guyoil is at the forefront of this development by providing reliable and efficient energy and supporting community development from the very core. 100% of Guyoil's profit goes back to building schools, roads, and other important infrastructure that connects our cities and towns, providing fuel to domestic, marine, industrial, and aerial transportation. Guyoil has now repositioned itself as market leader in the petroleum industry, building a better future for all of us.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true, or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Bust the flavors. We're full of flavors. Bust the flavors, that my crave for. We're full of flavors. Tell your neighbors about the bust the flavors. Grab a bust the flavors. Yeah, thirst buster. Grab a buster. Bust the flavor, taste the savor. Bust the flavors. Bust the flavors.
With your regional and international news tonight, I'm Svetlana Marshall. In the region, a judge from Trinidad and Tobago has been shortlisted for a vacant post at the Caribbean Court of Justice. According to a release from the Regional Judicial and Legal Services Commission, RJLSC, the local candidate is one of 4 shortlisted. The RJLSC did not name any of the applicants. The other candidates are from Jamaica, Suriname, and Canada. They were shortlisted from a list of 12 candidates from across the Commonwealth. Applications were received from nationals of the Bahamas, Great Britain, Canada, Nigeria, Dominica, Jamaica, Sri Lanka, Suriname, and Trinidad and Tobago. According to the RJLSC, interviews are scheduled to be conducted on Saturday, June 29, 2024. It is hoped that the selected judge will be able to take up duties when the court embarks on a new court term in October. Haiti's interim Prime Minister, Gary Conille, has vowed to end lawlessness with the help of a Kenyan-led international force deployed to the Caribbean nation, according to the BBC. The arrival of 400 Kenyan police officers in the first tranche of an international force was a unique opportunity to restore order, Mr. Conille said. Rocked by decades of instability, the Caribbean nation has seen an escalation of violence following the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse 3 years ago. U.S. President Joe Biden also welcomed the deployment, saying the Kenyan-led mission offered the best chance to receive democratic governance in Haiti. But there is fierce opposition in Kenya to the deployment, not least because police are accused of brutality in their own country, the latest example being the fatal shooting of protesters in the capital, Nairobi, on Tuesday. And finally tonight, international news. Joe Biden's shaky performance in the U.S. presidential debate drew stunned global reactions on Friday, prompting public calls for him to step aside and likely leaving some of America's closest allies stealing for Donald Trump's return. Biden's supporters had hoped Thursday's debate would erase worries that he was too old to serve, but footage of the president sounding hoarse and stumbling over his words boosted Trump, said politicians, analysts, and investors. For Japan and Korea, among the closest U.S. allies in Asia, relations with Trump's administration were at times strained by his demands for more payments towards military assistance and by trade tensions. Countries, including Japan and Germany, have started laying the groundwork for a possible Trump return as his campaign gathers steam.
And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Svetlana Marshall reporting and encouraging you to stay safe.